close as I've gotten. So I built something myself called GrowthBot a few years ago. That was
I remember that. I remember
and basically
GrowthBot.
you could type, and it was built for marketers to be able to get marketing data out, both of your kind of marketing systems, something like a HubSpot or a MailChimp, but also just other data sources like, oh, what are the top 3 keywords that Uber buys on PPC? Like that data's out there, right? Like you would
Right.
know to kind of ask that. And so, or like when was this domain registered, or like just a bunch of, and I would go through every night and look at all the questions people asked of this thing because it was a blank canvas. They had no idea what the thing was capable of. And then I would go back and it's like, okay, well, here are the repeating patterns. Wouldn't it be nice if I could go update the software to kind of do that thing? So it came close. It was, I think, a little early. I think we're further along now. People are more used to that notion of being able to express it.
Dude, that's so funny that you do these. I'm looking at the growth. I remember GrowthBot. Like people were sharing it, and you just made this. Did you? So you just whipped up this landing page, and you made this.
I made the whole thing. Yeah, like I spent a bunch of like time just learning about what's possible. Coded the whole thing myself.
God, that's so funny. Can you Gosh, this is so funny. You see that, Sean?
Yeah, I'm on it.
It's great, right? Like it's just cool that you do this stuff, and you have within like everything you do is kind of related to HubSpot, right? It's all in the same world. Do you also like it seems like you're really into website graders. Is that right? That business of web. So I was talking to Heaton Shah the other day. Heaton Shah started
Kissmetrics.
He did everything.
He's got a new startup, Nira.
Yeah. Nira. He's got which I
Crazy Egg,
Crazy Egg, Quick Sprout, all types of shit. I mean, he's like you. He just fucking has his hands in everything. But he and his partner Neil have neilpatel.com/Uber suggest, and then they also had neilpatel.com/ like rate your website or something like that.
Yep.
Why are you so into these website rating businesses and products? What the hell is going on with that?
So I'm into. So the original thing was called Website Grader. It's actually a funny story. So back when we first started HubSpot, it was just Brian, my co-founder, and I, and we would go look at people's websites and to see if they would be a good fit for HubSpot, the software, or not, right? And so we would go and I would look at their, like I would do a view source in Chrome and then look at their source codes. Like, okay, do they have the right meta tags? Do they seem clueful, right? There's a bunch of signals you can look Alexa ranking, stuff that you folks do all day long right now when you research companies.
Like a similar web type of thing.
Yeah. And this is 15 years ago. And so it's like, okay, well, when we were all doing it, we were doing it manually. There were no tools. So it's like, okay, so I built something. That's what I do. It's like, oh, I'm going to write this tool that automatically goes, looks and it pings the APIs. We'll bring down the source code for the HTML and see if the tags are right and kind of give it a score. And then I had not planned it this way. It was built as a tool for just the two of us. And it's like, oh, I'm going to put this on the web because I think this is useful. And so like, okay, well, what name can I give it? Well, it grades website. I'm going to call it websitegrader.com. The domain was available. This is 15 years ago. And so I put that out there and it was on fire. Like that, like all the early leads, like tens of thousands of people, right? And then so they had a desire to kind of grade their website. And so for the listening audience, one thing I will say is the power of building a diagnostic tool for your industry is immense, right? This is the thing so Website Grader was not the solution. So it's not like a freemium thing. It's like, oh, we're giving you a lightweight version of HubSpot. It was the thing that made you realize you needed HubSpot. And that was super valuable. And that can be done in any industry, whether you're in software or not. It's like, okay, I'm going to help you determine whether you have a problem or not. Because the natural thing when you do a website grader, it's like, oh, I got a 23 out of 100. That sucks.
Right.
HubSpot can help. Like, here's what we do. Or even just like read these blog posts and you watch these videos. It's work. So I'm obsessed with kind of grading and assessment. And you guys had an episode, like 10, 20 episodes ago, around like quizzes and things like that. So one thing so if you do build a diagnostic tool, the one thing, and this is, I've learned several lessons, but one of the key ones is that relative scores work. So Website Grader from its early days, like, okay, so if I give you an 87, what that 87 actually means is that whatever calculations we're doing behind the scenes, this particular score, you graded better than 87% of the 800,000 or whatever the number was websites we've graded. People love that. It's like, oh, that's just that kind of relative score versus an absolute one makes a big difference. A percentile score matters a lot to people. It's like, oh,
right.
Like I suck. I'm in the bottom 10% or the top 10%. I'm awesome.
Are you, Sean, do you see his list of ideas? Let's just start banging them out. I want to, I
Well,
like
hold
it.
on. So this is two things. So first, I think the thing you just described is like a growth hack without saying, yeah, I did it to growth hack. You like solved your own itch, but like that's such a, we've talked about it for quizzes. Quizzes, same thing, lead gen. This is an amazing lead gen tool where you basically got a bunch of qualified leads, people who they self-assess. Might have a problem. They go get it checked up. Your digital doctor said, yep, you indeed do have a problem. And then all you had to do is prescribe a solution called HubSpot. Here's HubSpot in a little bottle for you.
Yeah, by the way, to tell you how clueless I was back then. So I put this thing up there. And at the time, we had a meeting set up with Gail Goodman, who was the CEO of Constant Contact at that time, and she later joined the HubSpot board. But we met with her, and we're like, oh, we're working on this company called HubSpot. It's kind of related to the Constant Contact space, and we want to get her advice. And I showed her a website grader. It's like, oh, here's what we do, and we can kind of look at websites, whatever. And she loved it. And then she says, you might consider putting like an email address box on, because we had no way of knowing who these people were. They were not leads for us. We had like 100,000 people like use the tool.
Unintentional growth hack.
I had never thought to collect an email address. Like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to? Anyway, we obviously